Hello, and welcome to Soothing Pod's Sleep Stories. My name is Joe, and I'm going to tell you a wonderful story that will lull you into a peaceful and restful sleep. Tonight, I will be your guide to a beautiful part of Japan and tell you a local folktale about a benevolent man and his quest to rescue a little sparrow. Before we begin, let us take a moment to first relax and prepare ourselves for a restful night's sleep. Get into a comfortable position in your bed. Consider for a second how wonderful it is to just be here. Your bed is a space of safety, a place to let go of the weight of the day and embrace the joy of relaxing and refreshing. Here, let your mind be at ease. Let your body revel in the warmth of the blankets, the cushion of your plush mattress, the perfect temperature of the room. The time you spend relaxing is precious, necessary time. Take the time right now to truly embrace the opportunity and peace that can be found in this moment. Now that you are ready, let us begin our story. Deep within the bamboo forests of Japan, there was a riverside village of unrivaled beauty. From afar, you couldn't see the village through the thick forest. But as you inched closer and closer, the magical village would come into full view. The lazy river that wound through the lush green village was dotted with red arched bridges. From on top of the bridges, you could see vibrant orange koi fish and speckled rocks beneath the crystal clear water. Nearly the entire village was covered in towering Japanese maples, magnolia trees, and cherry blossom trees that had an everlasting pink bloom. The pink flowers constantly rained down over the cobblestone streets, painting the entire town a beautiful pink. At the very edge of the village, a simple dirt path wove through a tall grove of bamboo. If you were to walk down the path, you would eventually reach a simple home. In that traditional, cozy home, an elderly man and woman had made their lives. The man was a benevolent, wonderful person. He worked as a carpenter, whittling bamboo trinkets and toys for the local children. Every morning, he would rise with the sun and walk further along the river, deeper into the forest to collect his bamboo. He would remain by the river all day, whittling next to the water, breathing in the sweet aroma of the clean air. His wife, however, wasn't a kind woman. When they were young adults, the two were utterly in love. As they aged, his wife became a bitter woman, jealous and resentful of her husband's relationships with others. They lived a modest life, which the woman wasn't pleased with. She didn't like washing their clothes in the river or living out in the forest with the animals. While the man found happiness in the flowers, trees, and townspeople, the woman longed to escape to a city. She longed for riches and fine things. One day, the man journeyed into the forest. He lived for the solitude that could be found deep within the forest. Tucked between the towering bamboo and babbling brook, he felt as though he could truly be himself. On this day in particular, he settled upon his usual tree stump and closed his eyes. On days where the breeze was winding through the tall stalks, he loved to listen to them gently brush against one another. The leaves would rustle softly with every gust as the hollow stalks made their signature. Clink, clink. On this day, the old man felt connected to the forest around him. He knew that as long as he had these woods, his life would be happy. As he listened to the sounds of his beloved bamboo, another tiny noise piped up from the underbrush. The man immediately felt concerned. The noise sounded like a little bird crying out for help. The man followed the cry across the river and down a steep bank. The land seemed to glow on this side of the river. Every step the man took seemed to be electrified, as if the land was full of magic. The noises of the bamboo completely faded into the background, leaving only the distant roar of the river. There was something special here. Eventually, the man found himself standing over the crying animal. As he knelt down, a baby sparrow gazed up at him. A gentle ball of brown fluff, the bird blinked at him with wide, glossy eyes. It chirped at him as it tried to stand, waving an injured wing. The man felt a wave of compassion wash over him. It spread from the center of his body all the way down to the ends of his fingertips as he watched the little bird look up at him. He took the tiny sparrow in his hands. It nestled against his fingers, curling up happily against his warm skin. Then, the steady thud, thud, thud of the bird's little heart pulsed against his skin. For a moment, the man couldn't believe something so fragile could exist. He was humbled, amazed by the little creature's life, amazed that he and the bird shared such a beautiful forest. Overhead, velvety grey clouds cast shadows over them. A gentle spring rain began to fall in slow, heavy drops from the sky. "I'm going to keep you safe, little one. Don't worry." With a kind smile, the man placed the sparrow in his front pocket. The bird curled up against the fabric, welcoming the warmth of the wool. The man hurried back to his house, determined to make a home for the rescued animal. By the time he arrived, the sparrow was fast asleep in his front pocket. It looked as though it hadn't slept in days. Ever so carefully, the man began to craft a home for the sparrow. Outside in the sunshine, he whittled a small bowl for food and water. He cut a bit of fabric from his shirt and placed it in a makeshift nest for his new friend. Over the course of the next few days, the man spent mornings looking for food for the sparrow. the sparrow would tweet and hop around every morning, excited to greet the man who had rescued him from an uncertain fate. Together, they ate lunch down by the river. The man would set the sparrow's box in the grass beside him and feed the sparrow seeds in between his own bites of rice. Some days he would write poetry and read it to the young bird. With the sound of the river rushing right beside them and the sound of the old man's lyrical voice, the bird would drift to sleep by the end of his poems. Though the bird couldn't talk to him, he felt as though it could understand. It was soothing to have someone listen to his every word. It was soothing to have a creature to care for and love. It was heartwarming to have an animal to look at him with admiration and respect. At home, he was not granted that same joy. His wife would berate him for being gone all day. When she learned he was caring for a sparrow, she grew angry. "That bird can't help us. It's a waste of time and money," she said. But the man loved the sparrow. Every night he would place the sparrow on his nightstand and watch its little chest rise and fall until it fell asleep. Once he knew it was sleeping comfortably, he would close his eyes and drift off to have sweet dreams. One day, the man awoke to a rainstorm. The sound of the rain pouring over his roof made him want to curl back up in bed. He rose and gazed out of the window for a long moment. Everything seemed so much greener during storms like these. The ground was wet and reflective. The tall bamboo stalks bent closer to the earth under the weight of the fresh raindrops. The man could smell the earthy aroma that the spring rain always stirred up. All the plants were fragrant, as if they were reminding the world that they were alive, and that the world was beautiful. The little sparrow chirped up at the man, flapping its wings happily. He could see the joy glistening in the sparrow's eyes. He knew he couldn't bring the sparrow out into rain this heavy. He brushed the precious creature's head as his wife watched him, jealous and annoyed. With that, he headed out into the rainstorm to do his work. The sparrow cried after the man, squawking loudly. The woman grew annoyed with the bird's chirping. Her husband had never cared for anything like that sparrow before. It brought him joy that she never seemed to be able to. She began to stew. The longer the bird chirped, the more frustrated the woman became. She paced back and forth, until she couldn't take it anymore. In the heat of anger and jealousy, the woman hurt the bird. She tossed it out of the window and watched as it scampered away. As evil as she was, the woman felt satisfaction wash over her. Later, the man arrived home. He held a sweet, bright red strawberry in his hands. It was considered a luxury, but the man thought it would make a wonderful treat for the sparrow after being separated all day. When the man discovered what his wife had done, his heart pained. He went outside to find his friend. Pacing through the rain, he called out to the sparrow. He felt a heaviness in his heart, an overwhelming desire to once more hold the injured sparrow. The deeper into the bamboo forest he got, the more hopeless his quest seemed. But then he heard a gentle chirping above him. To his surprise, a flock of sparrows were flitting above his head. They dove around his head playfully, as if they were beckoning him to follow them. Could the sparrows really be helping him? Did they know who he was? He followed the birds down, down, down a dirt path on the edge of the river. Finally, they reached the thickest grove of bamboo the man had ever seen. He wove through the bamboo, following the graceful movements of the birds above him. He found himself in a circular clearing within the bamboo. There was something magical about it. The air seemed to sparkle, and the circle itself seemed to have been placed there by the gods. Ever so slowly, birds began to creep out of tiny holes in the bamboo. Collectively, they all sang to him. Their song was one of the most beautiful the man had ever heard. He felt tears begin to form in his eyes. In the center of the clearing, his little sparrow looked up at him with those familiar eyes. He felt overcome with emotion. Dropping to his knees, he took his friend in his hands. The sparrow lifted its wing as if to show him that it was healed. The man understood. The sparrow had returned to its family where it rightfully belonged. Just as the man was about to part ways, the sparrows all around him began to sing together, louder, even more beautifully than before. They began to dance. Every movement they made was pure and gentle as they sailed and fell through the air, glancing at the man for his approval. Overcome with joy, the man placed the strawberry in front of the little sparrow for all the creatures to share. They gathered around the strawberry, chirping with joy and appreciation. Before the man could leave, they brought forth 2 bamboo baskets. One basket was large, while the other was tiny. Wanting for nothing, the man took the smaller basket with a smile. As he turned to leave the grove, he glanced over his shoulder to get one last glimpse of his friend. The little sparrow was cuddling with its family, safe and happy. It chirped a final time at the benevolent man, the man who had cared so deeply for it, and then he was gone. When the man returned home, he opened the basket. To his surprise, the basket was overflowing with gold and riches. It shined in the dim light, casting a brilliant reflection across their modest home. "Where did you get the basket?" the woman snapped. When the man told her he had a choice between the small and the large basket, the woman rushed out into the forest, desperate to find more riches. The woman never returned. Some say the large basket was there to tempt greedy people. Some say the birds knew of the harm she caused the little sparrow. The man gave his riches to the poor people in the community. He continued to live his comfortable life in the forest. Every morning, he would walk through his beloved bamboo grove. He would close his eyes and listen to the ethereal song of the sparrows as he whittled in the forest. I hope you've enjoyed this story and have drifted closer to a relaxing night of sleep. Please join me again tomorrow for another sleep story. Sweet dreams.